A few weeks ago, I thought I had found an incredible duplex. The seller seemed very motivated and the property looked like it had a lot of potential. And at a first glance, it seemed like the kind of deal every real estate investor hopes to find. In fact, I was considering very seriously making an offer. But then I started digging deeper, and what I found almost turned into the biggest mistake I've made as a real estate investor so far. Now, the interesting thing is that the problem wasn't very obvious. It wasn't something you could spot from the listing photos, and it wasn't something that most buyers would notice during a quick walkthrough. And if I had missed it, this could have cost me tens of thousands of dollars. But before I show you exactly what I found, I want to know your opinion. As we go through this deal, think about whether you would have bought the property or whether you would have walked away. Then drop a comment below with your verdict before you hear mine. And if you enjoy seeing these real-world rental property breakdowns, both the wins and the losses, make sure that you are subscribed because I post new videos every single week. Now let's take a look at the property. Properties on the west side of Akron, just like the rentals that I have so far. The positives: the outside of the property doesn't look too bad. The inside, at least you can see from the pictures, is pretty representative of what the inside looked like. The pictures out here, nothing really remarkable from these pictures other than there's some vines growing on the side of the property that need torn down, just kind of unsightly. And then obviously right here, there's some trash buildup. Nothing super bad. Here's the ground level. This is a 2-bedroom on the ground level, 3-bedroom on the upper level. And the bottom level is occupied. The tenant that was in there seemed like a nice enough guy. He was a messy guy, but the property otherwise, the ground level looked like it was in decent shape. The tenant wasn't beating the place up. The floors looked like they were in good shape. The walls didn't have holes in them. Other than being kind of untidy, it wasn't in bad shape. The floors were updated, the paint looked more modern, the appliances were in good working order. The tenant said he was happy there and wanted to stay. The big issue with the ground level was that the tenant was paying below market rent. I believe it was $700 a month, and for a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, a conservative estimate for rent would be around $850. So he's a little on the low side. But otherwise, the ground level is not in bad shape. Another positive, the power is metered separately for the upper and lower level, separate power meters or electric meters, separate gas meters. Utilities are all separated, which is wonderful. Now, the other positive that I do want to mention is the neighborhood isn't too bad. There's a little park across the street here. It's the houses up and down the street look like they're kept up pretty well. That's one thing I do like to check on. Obviously a big red flag is going to be if you're looking up and down the Google Maps images and you see houses with broken windows and boarded up windows. It's not a good sign. But the properties here look like they're kept up reasonably well. And again, that's a very important metric that I like to look for, is scope out the neighborhood, make sure the neighborhood is a decent neighborhood. Now, let's talk about the bad, okay? The bad is there's limited pictures of the home. There's no pictures of the upstairs, and there's a very good reason for that. The upstairs was in terrible shape. The tenant that was in the upstairs had moved out. The tenant left the upstairs in very poor shape. As best as what I can remember, there were doors missing on all of the bedrooms. The doors were completely gone. I don't know if the guy just broke them up beyond repair and then the property owner just removed them, or if the tenant just removed them himself. I don't know. But there were no doors on for the bedrooms. The light fixtures were all missing too. No appliances, and there was a ton of damage to the flooring and the walls. There was going to need a lot of drywall work. The flooring in the upper unit was going to need to be completely redone. The bathtub was also having a leak issue. The leak was incompletely repaired. So the bathtub was leaking, and there was a water leak going down, translating into the ground level. That part had been corrected, but the bathtub faucet had not been completely. There were some leaks with the bathtub faucet, and the bathtub faucet had not been repaired. Any one of these things by themselves, not the end of the world. I've changed out bathtub faucets before. I've switched out flooring before in the last rental that we bought. Not a big deal. But again, we're talking about more and more and more things. You got to keep in mind how much each of these things is going to cost, add them up, and make sure that that's reflected in your purchase price. Otherwise, you're not going to be winding up with a very good deal. So, long story short so far, downstairs is okay, upstairs is not in good shape. The other issue, the basement, there was a basement there, but the basement was literally filled wall to wall with just trash, garbage, scrap drywall, a trampoline, all kinds of random stuff, to where it was difficult for me to traverse one end to the other. I like to go down, and especially in these older properties, to check the walls to make sure that the walls don't have any major bows or cracks in them. Because again, if you get into foundation repairs, you're talking about tens of thousands of dollars in terms of costs right off the bat. I wasn't able to do that because there was so much junk in the basement, and that's a big red flag to me. If I can't check if there's obstacles preventing me from traversing the basement, number one, I'm not going to be able to check it. The building inspector may have a hard time checking it, and then that's just going to be going into this blind. I'm not going to know. I may not know what the condition of the basement walls are until after I purchase the property and get all that junk out. And again, that's another big red flag. I don't want to go into this blind. I don't want to be guessing on what the maintenance expenses are going to be for this property. The last red flag, and other people may have differing opinion about this, but the seller had been working with a wholesaler, and the problem that created was right off the bat, the seller has sold to the wholesaler. The wholesaler now is going to need to make profit, otherwise it's kind of a waste of his time. And my goal was to buy this property distressed at a bargain, add value to it, and then not only have a cash flowing duplex that I own, that I've added forced value to, that now is worth more than what I paid for. It's going to be hard to do that now because there's a third party now that is going to need their cut as well. I didn't really like that the seller was not super honest about that until we started talking about price. The duplex was listed, I believe, initially around at 85. Okay, and I wanted to get it for around 70, and I felt like that was fair because that's what the property, based on my calculations of what I needed to put into it in terms of the estimated repairs, I feel like if I got it for 70, then I would be able to make money off of it, and that would be an acceptable risk on my end. We started talking about dollars and cents with the seller, and then he brought up, well, there's a wholesaler in here, and the wholesaler has the property, has agreed to purchase the contract from me for, I believe it was around like 90, and it's like at this point in time, it's just not gonna. I didn't want to assume all that risk. I didn't want to have to put all this time and effort into the property, and in terms of all the repairs, in terms of the maintenance issues that I'm aware of right now, and then I was also again the basement issue, not being able to assess the basement walls completely. All of that combined just turned into a hard no for me. I was on the fence about it from the very beginning. If we could get it at 70K, I would have been okay with some of the risks, but not like going on thinking, dang, this was a fantastic deal. This was a home run. It'd be like, we can make this work probably. We'll add another cash flowing property to the portfolio. We'll make this work. It won't be the end of the world. Kind of a middle of the road deal. Not exceptionally well, not exceptionally bad. Now, add in the wholesaler, add in the higher purchase price. Now I didn't think it was worth my time. We passed on this. We tried to make it work, but again, a lot of effort on my end in terms of repairs and dollars put into the property after purchasing it, and then the risk associated with not knowing what's going on with the basement walls. So, like I said before, let me know in the comments, is this something you would have stuck with? Is this something you would have walked away from? Drop a comment in there. Let me know what you think. If you have any other questions, any other ideas or property type evaluations you'd like to see me review, drop a comment in there, like and subscribe. Let me know what you think.